It's May 2012 and the Nautical Archaeology Society are moving parts of the Gresham ship from Horsey Island Dive Centre in Portsmouth to Stoney Cove Dive Centre in Leicestershire. This project will involve a team of 9 divers working for at least 5 days in the water, lifting large amounts of wood and timber from the Gresham ship, which was originally removed from the Thames in 2003, as well as an anchor and some iron bars, moving them up to low loaders and then transporting them up the motorway to Stoney Cove, where they'll be used as a new museum for divers to visit and look at, and also for students of nautical archaeology to practice their skills in recording and surveying underwater.
Since 2003, the shallow, brackish waters of Horsey Island Lake have provided a home to timbers and artefacts from the Gresham shipwreck. But recreational diving access to this site, a military training base, was restricted in 2007. A new home was required. The owners of Stoney Cove Diving Centre accepted the challenge. The first task of the move was to prepare the timbers and artefacts for lifting from the water at Horsey. Lifting strops were placed under each of the main hull sections, the heaviest of which weighed 7 tonnes. Horsey's water supports a variety of marine life, some of which has been nibbling away at the Gresham's timbers. Horsey Island is notorious amongst the diving community for the mud and silt at its bottom. Any disturbance results in the underwater visibility quickly deteriorating to almost nothing, and so, even though they were working in only a few metres of water, an underwater communication system was essential in coordinating the diving team's work. There was a great deal of media interest. The project was featured on ITV regional news, both on the South Coast and in the Midlands. And day-to-day progress was broadcast on local radio.
Well, the cranes will arrive about lunchtime, so we've got this morning to prepare them and to get the timbers ready for the crane hook to be lowered into the water. The crane, in theory, will lift out some timbers today and some timbers tomorrow morning, and then lunchtime tomorrow steer clear of the motorways, because we'll be going along the M27, the M3, the M25, and then finally up the M1.
Some heavy lifting equipment was needed to recover the timbers from the water and up to the neighbouring access road. There were a nervous few minutes as the first crane lift was readied. Would the timbers still be strong enough to remain intact as they were removed from the water? Everyone watching held their breath as the first section broke the surface for the second time in 400 years. But everything went well, and the timbers were hoisted over the bank and the trees and then gently lowered towards the waiting lorry. Transportation was kindly provided by the Royal Engineers. The load was carefully secured, packed with protective foam matting and wrapped in tarpaulin. The process was repeated until all the timber sections, the cargo artefacts and the anchor were recovered and made ready for their road journey north. Whilst it was probably one of the more unusual loads they have had to manage, the Royal Engineers delivered their cargo safely to Stoney Cove. Still embedded within the hull sections was a fair amount of Horsey Island mud. This was painstakingly scraped away by trowel and by hand. Water access was easier than at Horsey Island, so a smaller crane was suitable. Each section was lowered onto the shallow water ledge close to the car park, the timbers disappearing under the water, hopefully for the final time. Once on the bottom, each section was checked, detached from the crane hooks, and supported on large air-filled lifting bags for the move to the selected site. The diving team enjoyed the journey across the quarry by boat tow, and it also provided an opportunity to scrape away more of the mud. The last few metres of the journey were done under divers' finning propulsion alone to allow for precise positioning. Then each piece was gently lowered into place. The aim was to recreate the original wreck site and to reposition the hull sections as they lay when originally discovered in the Thames. Careful team briefing was required to ensure that everyone understood exactly where each piece belonged. But even so, underwater diver-to-diver communications were again vital, as debates sometimes continued underwater. As each section was placed into its intended position, the lifting gear was recovered to be used in delivering the next hull fragment. It took 3 long days to place and position all of the wreckage onto the new site. The diving team rotated roles, taking turns to act as surface cover and standby diver, and were assisted throughout by Stoney Cove staff. Gresham's cargo contained iron bars, some now concreted together into heavy lumps as a result of their long stay under the sea. Together with the smaller hull pieces, these were placed onto a specially constructed pallet for their transit of Stoney Cove. Divers confirmed that the load remained secure before these artefacts began their voyage across the quarry. The collection of artefacts includes one of the Gresham's anchors, which now sits very prominently on the new wreck site, guiding divers to the hull timbers.
Well, the latest attraction at Stoney Cove is the Gresham ship. Today's the culmination of a project that's taken us something like 2 years to put together, and it's really, really important. It's one of probably the best thing we've ever done yet at Stoney Cove. From the point of view of visiting divers, thousands and thousands of people come through Stoney Cove. Probably 35,000 divers a year will visit Stoney Cove this next coming year or two. It's been put in a very accessible place. It's just along from the point we're standing here at the slipway and Eddie's Quay, this is called, probably only about 100 metres away, 150 metres away on a 7 metre deep shelf. That makes it accessible to any level of diver, from complete beginners to experts. And not only will people be able to visit it and look at it, but also it's going to form a really important part of the training, the future training of future archaeologists, underwater archaeologists. So the Nautical Archaeological Society hopefully will be running their courses and training their new students to examine, record and look at a real genuine historic artefact.
The Gresham ship has now moved from Portsmouth to Stoney Cove in Leicestershire. She sits on a 6-metre ledge, there for divers to enjoy, to visit as a museum, and for NAS course participants to help survey, to learn how to do archaeology underwater. Let's hope she lasts another 400 years.